Okay, I'm here with my friend Josh Arnold, here on my sun porch in Decatur, Alabama. Josh is my first interview on Cookie Stoner Presents. My reason for doing this is I love to interview people, love to tell people stories, and boy, does Josh have a story to tell. Josh, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Coffee's good?
Yes, coffee is delicious.
We drink a lot of coffee together, don't we?
Yes.
We have drunk many cups of coffee together. Okay, well, on my trailer, or on my preview, I said that you have been an asshole since birth. Do we agree on that? Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But you've been in a wheelchair since you were 15. Can you tell me a little bit, and the reason this came to wanting to interview you is you've been my dear friend for a while now. We have many long talks, and you are a man in a wheelchair. We've talked about the politically correct terms, disabled, not disabled, whatever, and the point is you're in a wheelchair, yeah. And it is interesting, as we've said, you truly are one of the most brilliant human beings I've ever met. Wow, you're a very brilliant man. We've had many wonderful long talks, and you have with my family and been the guest of my family on many occasions. But you said something one night about how people look at you, and that got me to thinking, I'd like to hear a little bit about who you are and how you got in that chair. So tell me a little bit of the whole start.
Okay. Well, I was born with cerebral palsy, and it wasn't diagnosed until about 18 months.
You were 18 months old?
Yes.
Okay.
Medically, it's not found. You're not born and they say, well, this child obviously has cerebral palsy, because I missed several basic developmental markers like, sitting up on time, walking, etc. I think I was past a year old, and I had, not, stood up without being assisted, and I was taken to the doctor, and they confirmed that I had cerebral palsy. And the reason that, they say you're born with it is that something has to happen at the time of birth or within a few hours. Some sort of trauma has to occur. In my case, I'm not exactly sure what that was.
So you're saying, and that's something that we've been talking a little bit, and I did a little bit of research on cerebral palsy, how many, I think we said, didn't we say 3 in 1,000 children are born?
Yes.
3 in 1,000 children are born with cerebral, or are diagnosed with cerebral palsy.
Right.
But is it all, and that's something I do want to research, but is it all trauma-based? Because that's what we hear that it's, something coming out of the birth canal or something happening. Is that what you're saying, that it's usually trauma-based? Is that?
It's as far as I know.
As far as you know, okay.
I'm not really an expert. I'm not exactly an expert on the technical parts of this, but most of the research that I did in my own case was some 20 years ago for a speech class at junior college.
Okay. So, but you were diagnosed at 18 months, and because of your missing those major markers that all the moms usually put in their, our children's baby books. They did this at this, they did this, and so you missed some of those markers. So, did y'all ever talk about how that affected your family, or was it even an issue, or it's just like, okay, well, here we go, this is what we're going to do?
I think it was an issue, but it was, wasn't really very much discussed as far as how it affected me and such. My family, they were supportive, at least in the way that this is, what is 1979? This is probably 13 years or so before the rise of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So my house wasn't prepared for me to be in a chair or on braces or crutches or a walker like I was before the chair. So I learned to do just about everything, by figuring out ways for it to be done instead of having, basically I had to adapt to my environment instead of my environment
adapting to you.
For me.
You said that about the American Disabilities Act, and not only your home, but how did that, growing up, how did that affect how you lived out in the world, and how your mother, as a child, taking you out into, public? And can you think of any? Are there any sort of any stories or anything that you can think of that you're like, oh, I remember that, and that was a difficult time? Or did you, as you just said, whatever happened, you just adapted to it?
It's pretty much just adapting to what was around me. I didn't really put a lot of conscious thought into it.
You just lived, right?
Yeah. Well, because my major mode of getting around outside of, I get in the chair and go out in public because it's easier.
Right.
If I go into your house to use the bathroom,
right.
say, or if I'm in my house, I crawl.
You crawl.
So if I see a set of stairs, well, there's stairs.
And you can scale them.
Yes.
Yes.
Things like that. If I'm in a public bathroom that's not set up for somebody in a chair or with some other disability, for lack of a better term,
right.
I just use whatever's handy.
Whatever's handy, and you just make it work for you.
Right.
And do you feel like that a lot of you always, and you and I are not really politically correct around each other, but if I don't want to come across stupid, but to say the least, but and we're going to be we have on our good behavior on video, of course, because of all of our 10 views, right? A few of our friends and family, but we always hear that when you have something that you cannot do, that you make up for it in another area. Do you find that that's true, that it, not being able to walk or get around, that you're just like, well, okay, I can just do it, and I have my upper body strength, or I just make it happen, and you don't really, I don't want to be so stupid to say you don't miss your legs, but you just like, hey, I can do pretty much anything.
Well, that's the thing about it, is that there's basically two different kinds of being disabled.
Okay.
One is, I've had this since birth. This is just the way that I operate. And some people, they, have a spinal injury, for instance, and they have to relearn how to do everything. I learned, one way to do everything. This is
all you've ever known, so it's not...
It would be a horrifying experience for me to suddenly stand up and walk, because I had to learn to do everything all over.
Okay. Well, you and I had a sort of a conversation about that, and I guess we can go into that entree now. You and I have known each other for many years due to our families have known each other, and we have a lot of extended family members and close family members. But you and I actually met in a 12-step program, and of course, you didn't say a whole lot, and I just thought, oh, here he is, and then one day you said something, and then I don't know, we've just been best of friends since. I don't even remember when it seems like we've always been great friends, but you talking about, you told me one time that you actually had enough to drink one time that you actually thought you could walk.
Yes.
So that was probably not. So that's what it took, right? I go, woo, yeah. So that wasn't a good thing, right?
No.
So you're the guy that, I think I'm so good. Hey, I can drink so much and get so under the influence that I might be able to walk.
Well, that wasn't the conscious intent. I was actually I was this in college, and
in college.
I had stumbled across to the bathroom, and I was, I've done what you do in the bathroom, and then it's like, without thinking about it, it's like, I attempted to stand up and fell right over.
So your brain made you think, I think I can stand up, right? Yes. Okay, well, I thought that was a great story. Okay, so you told me, so up until the time you were 15, did you have braces, or how did you, because you told me that you have been in the chair since you were 15. Tell me a little bit about from the time that you were a toddler up until the time you...
Right. Well, you've seen Forrest Gump, right?
I have. Is that what we all envision? You had the...
Yes, I've had those exact braces.
You had those exact braces. Were you able to were you able to stand better or on the weight and get around and walk like that around?
Well, not on those particular braces. They didn't bear very much of the weight. It
Right.
just hurt my joints exactly. I remember I had, the first pair I had was absolute straight, rigid braces, and I have, with palsy, until I was probably 12 years old, I was 98% contracted. Now, my hand here, imagine that my hand is your hamstring.
Okay.
That's pretty much, that's 98% contraction right there. That's what my hamstrings were. And so I had this pair of braces that were completely rigid, no locking mechanism on the joint. And so I had to endure my legs being completely rigid. And